Have you ever dreamt of owning a horse that was so willing you could do anything you wanted? A horse that enjoyed its time with you as much as you enjoyed being with them? Well, I know I did, but I never thought it was possible until I was introduced to the idea that horses have their own thoughts and opinions, and it is our job to recognise the signs of these thoughts and opinions through their body language. Since being introduced to this concept, I have been passionately studying and sharing what I've discovered. In this lesson, we'll be covering techniques and concepts that will develop your skills and the connection between you and your horse, so you too can experience the feeling of being a true horseman.
Hi, I'm Shane Ransley. I'm from Quantum Savvy. Quantum Savvy is an educational program that teaches people about horsemanship. And today we're going to be having a look at just one part of that. One of the important parts, I feel, to develop your softness in your horse. Not only your softness, but your rapport and your connection with your horse, which is also very important. Today I'm going to show you or share with you some important techniques and some attitudes behind the techniques of what we call at Quantum Savvy spirals. This is our technique we'll be looking at today, and it's a technique that will help you develop softness in your horse and confidence in your horse, and this will bring along safety in your part, which is always important. One of the important things when we're working with our horses is to recognise how they're feeling about what we're doing with them. And today we're going to observe that and look for signs of when the horse is comfortable and when he's not comfortable, and try and reward the horse and encourage the horse to be relaxed and comfortable. And these are the things we're going to look at. We're going to share with you a few techniques and a few situations where you might want to observe how your horse feels about you when you're approaching him and when you're working with them and even riding them. Okay, so we'll have a look at that. I've got my horse Spyder here today. Spyder is an Australian stock horse, cross thoroughbred. As in Australia, a lot of horses are crossed with thoroughbreds. We have a lot of thoroughbreds over here. We like our racing. First thing we're going to look at is our approach and how we approach our horse, and to see what their body language is telling us when we approach them, and how to encourage them to have positive body language. And this is one of the main things that we're going to be looking at today, is positive body language, or positive posture as we call it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is have a look at our approach on our horse. First thing we need to do when we go to approach our horse is to get ourselves prepared and get our ropes organised, so we don't get ourselves tangled when we're doing our approach. So one of the important things is to have your lead rope over your arm, okay, and just, you see it's looped over there, and so when we put our halter on, then it can come off of there quite easily. We don't want to have this all bunched up here and try and get that on the horse, because if the horse does sort of run away or get a fright, you'll get your hand tangled in there. You don't want to get tangled up. Okay, so just loop that over there, over your arm. Okay, now we've got this other bit here. Okay, so this is where the nose goes. Want to make sure that we've got a nice little quick release knot on here to have this prepared for us. So I'll just show you this here. So we'll hold the loop, put this over here, we'll come underneath, make a loop, put that back through that loop. Okay, you might want to watch this a few times, then pull that tight. Okay, so it makes a little knot like that. That's not how we're going to tie it on the horse once he's on there. This is how we're going to approach our horse, because when we put it on there, we're going to put our hand over our horse's, over his neck, give him a bit of a hug, undo that, and do it up. Okay. We're going to approach Spyder here and have a look at how we walk up towards him. It's important that we walk towards his drive line, that's his shoulder, and encourage him to flex towards us. We don't want to be too far in front, because that'll encourage him to flex away and sort of maybe even brace against us. It's not good positive posture for our horse to be braced away like that. So we want him to soften and look towards us. Same if we go too far to the back end, we might encourage that to turn away, or even for him to move off. So we better have a look at this as we approach. So we try and balance this little drive line towards his shoulder here. I'm going to ask him to flex towards me as I approach. That's if he's not too busy having something to eat here. So we've come in politely, he hasn't sort of moved off. I'm going to ask him to flex towards me here. Come on, Spider. He's flexed towards me there. Just have a bit of a sniff of that halter. Looks a bit busy eating today. What I'm going to do is I'll put my arm over the top like a hug here. Okay. Now, even if you're a little bit shorter, you can still get your arm over there. I'd rather do that. That would cause your horse to bring his head down, as opposed to trying to get it on from under here. It'll cause him to lift his head up. Again, not good body language for your horse to have. Okay, so flex towards me. Undo my safety quick release knot that I've put on over his nose. Now I'm going to take the tension up with the hand on this side to get it up on his nose there. Okay. Put my end through my loop. I'll just flex him away here, which isn't really what I want, but so you guys can see. So it goes through the loop, go behind, from behind here, and through that loop again. Through that loop that you've made, and that's how it should sit, with the dangly bit pointing towards the back. Technical term there. Okay. And don't, you know, if that's too long, then you might want to get a different size halter. Okay. We've approached and put our halter on. When we leave our horse, we do exactly the same in reverse. Well, we've done our approach. We've had a look at the flex. Encouraging the horse to flex towards us when we approach them, and keeping an eye on that and making sure that we have good skills that encourage that as well. Next bit we're going to look at is what we call a short range circle. So basically we drive our horse forward in a circle, a small circle. Okay, and we have a look at how he is travelling during that. So to do our circle, we're going to use a stick here. We've got a stick and we've got a string on the end of it. Okay, it's got a weighted end on this string, so it can just get out there and be nice and accurate if we need to put it in a place. But we're going to be short range, so we'll probably hold that string. We won't need that too much, hopefully. And we're going to use this as an extension of our arm. Okay, it's a stiff stick. It's not a whip or anything. Okay, so it's just to save us moving our feet too much, because the less we move our feet, the more of a leader that makes us. So I'm going to ask Spyder to go around me here to my left. Now just as he moved off there, he sort of came in my personal space a little bit as he went forward, so I've got to keep an eye on that, make sure that when he comes in my personal space that I don't walk backwards. You need to keep an eye on that, because what that'll do is draw the horse's front end towards you. So when you're doing a short range circle, make sure you're walking forward. Okay. If you've got a horse that, get out there buddy, if you've got a horse that really is a bit of a space invader, you might want to do bigger circles first up, so just walk around doing a big circle, just at a walk mate. Okay, but what we want to do today is what we call short range, which is me being the pivot point. Okay, so he's going forward. Now, how did we get him to go forward? That's a good question. We need to open up in front and drive from behind if you need to, okay? But the important part here is that we open up in front, because we're teaching the horse to go to comfort. So it needs to be open in that direction. And one day you'll be able to get your horse like Spyder, where he just follows that suggestion and you don't need the stick. So we open the door in front, and then we use the stick to cause discomfort if he doesn't follow the comfort. Looks easy, doesn't it? Now also, when you're doing this, when you're walking forward, make sure you're alongside this drive line here, because again, that'll encourage the horse to flex around you. If you're too far in front, it's the same as the approach, it'll flex the horse away from you. If you're too far behind at this stage, it might cause the front to keep coming at you. Okay, so just you'll find the spot to balance where your horse is alongside the shoulder there, along shoulder to shoulder. Shoulder to shoulder. Okay. Now to stop him, I'm just going to yield his hind quarter away. I'm waving that stick at it. Rub him on the head. Once you can do that at a walk, you might want to practice some transitions from trot to walk. Okay, and our main aim is here to get our horse to follow our body language. So here I open up in front, get my horse walking. I'm going to ask him to trot. I'm going to bring my body life up. And then if he doesn't follow that, I'd start bringing my stick up. Okay, so my stick reinforces my body language. Remember that. You need to do your body language first. Here I'm going to ask him to stop by yielding his hind. So discomfort on the hind and comfort on the head. I know which way I'd face. Let's try our other direction. Walk here, my body life's up, I'm open, pick my stick up. Now, when you use your stick, it's to exaggerate body language, so if they don't go, use it bigger, not harder. So if you want them to go faster, I'll just slow him down so you guys can see. I suggest he doesn't go, I'm going to have this big, like this. No, too much? So that's a lot of phases for Spyder. He said you don't need to get that big with me. Okay, so don't try to be just hitting him or anything like that. Body language. Okay, so here I'm going to ask him for a transition down by relaxing my body life. And if he doesn't follow that, I could just put my stick in front and cause a little bit of energy in front there. That might be something for you to practice. When you first start this, do the hind quarter yield to stop. It'll be a bit easier. But that might be something for you to aim for, to be able to do the transitions. Just with your body language. Here's my next transition down, relaxing, doesn't listen, stick. Good boy. Looks like a bit of fun. You might have hours of amusement with that one. It's important when you're doing a short range circle that there's no pressure on the lead rope, so you want that as light as possible. If you find that they're pulling on the lead rope, that means they're stiff through their body, and that will carry through to your riding. If they're stiff through the body on the ground here, when you hop on them, it's going to be the same thing. So if they're heavy on this lead rope, they're probably going to be heavy on the reins. So it's real important that you get this soft and light before you hop on your horse. If he's getting tight through the body, it means mentally that he's not confident, he's not ready. So there's no need to hop on there and find that out. Okay, many people do, and we don't want you guys relying on luck when you're out there riding your horse. So keep an eye on that softness. If he pulls too much on the lead rope, you might want to yield the hind quarter a little bit so that it takes a bit of pressure off of that lead rope. Okay, and practice this a little bit more. Remember, when they're going forward, you ready, Spyder? When they're going around here in this circle, that it's to comfort. Okay, so it means you need to be just walking along next to them, okay, without tapping the stick or pulling on their head, just to comfort, nice and open like that. Sounds pretty straightforward. Another little tip with your short range circles, so once you've got these going good, I'll just bring Spidey up to a trot here. You might see if you can throw this string over your horse while he's going along. Be a great thing to desensitize your horse and make sure he stays soft and supple in his forward movement. Keep going, Spidey. You may want to start at a walk or trot, whatever's easiest for you when you first start out. After our circle, we're going to have a look at our sideways. Now, when we do the sideways, it's important that your horse can yield to this halter forwards and backwards there. Okay. We're going to have this arm straight and this arm straight. We make like an L. Now, that doesn't mean go. Okay. When we don't move, that means nothing. Okay, that means nothing, Spyder. I've got my body life up here. My arms are straight. I've got that L shape happening. I'm going to just wiggle this stick a bit on this side until my horse goes sideways. And when he stops going sideways, I'll just relax my body life. Good. Might even give him a rub. Okay. Now the first time you do this, you might need to get bigger with your stick. Okay. And bigger. It may even start to get closer and closer until, maybe even be tapping that horse. But you'll probably find if you get big and move close and the horse sees that discomfort coming, then he'll move. Okay, here we go again. This is my start position. That doesn't mean move. Good boy. Here I want him to go sideways. My body life's up. My stick's waving. It's getting closer. And around he goes a little bit sideways. Ideally, we'd like them nice and straight in the start, the finish, and the middle. But when you first start out, it might just be this. He'll be straight in the start. Make sure he's starting the finish as well, because it's the finish that teaches the horse. So make sure he's straight when you finish. Okay, so straight in front of your belly button, straight down your arm, your hindquarters leg, and there it's better, Spyder. Nice and straight. Okay, that's a sideways. When you first start out, you might just want to do a couple of steps and then ask your horse to stop. Stop, Spidey. Okay. But after a while, you could do half a circle, stop, give him a rest, half a circle the other way, stop, give him a rest, and even build to doing a whole circle. But remember, it's the finish that teaches the horse, so try and finish them nice and straight and try not to do too much all in one go. Okay? We've had a look at our approach, our short range circles, our sideways. Now we're going to have a look at a thing called a flight test. Flight test, we do a flight test because horses are flight or fight animals. Okay, so we want to make sure that they're not going to go into flight or fight mode when they get their energy up. So we're going to ask them to go over a little jump here, and to see if the horse can stay soft and supple as it goes over the jump. Now, a jump to the horse is a claustrophobic situation, so anything that limits his personal space will cause a horse to feel a little bit claustrophobic, and horses are naturally claustrophobic, so we want to make sure that when he does feel claustrophobic that he doesn't get tight and tense. Now, this would be a great simulation for you to do before you put your saddle on and before you hop on, because those things are also flight tests, so you don't want your horse getting tight and tense in those situations either. So if you could do the flight test over a jump and making sure the horse is soft and supple, it would be a direct reflection of how he'll be when you put the saddle on or when you're riding them as well. Transitions, walk, trot or canter transitions are also flight tests, so we need to make sure that we get all these things good. As we go over to the jump here, we're going to be looking at making sure that Spyder stays soft and supple as he goes over the jump, as much as he was in his short range circles. Alright, we've found ourselves a little jump here, a little embankment and a jump. We're going to ask Spyder here to go over this and to yield his hindquarter on the other side to make sure he stays soft and supple after his little flight test, his jump here. Okay, you ready, Spyder? And the main goal is for me to stand as still as possible, just like the short range circle. The hindquarter yield to finish. So it's important that he can yield his hindquarter and step through with his back end, because we want him to stay soft and supple as he's going along. So that's a little test for it. Let's try back the other way. Good boy. The hindquarter yield. Ooh, a little bit sticky on that side. And this time we're going to ask him to go a little bit quicker. in a trot, hind quarter yield to finish. Good boy. Let's try this way again. At a trot, mate. Hind quarter yield. A little bit sticky on that side still, so. But he's jumping onto the gravel over here, so we'll cut him a bit of slack on that one. But it's real important that when he jump, that he can soften and yield his hind quarter. This is what we're looking for. It'll reflect this simulation here. If you can get this good, this will help with transitions and circles, many things. Okay? That's something for you to practice. Alright, we've done some prerequisites. We're going to join these together now and make this a little bit more interesting for our horse and for ourselves, but a little bit more challenging. We're going to do what we call short range yields, which is short range circle, short range sideways, which we've looked at, and short range jumps, flight tests. Okay, so we're going to join all three of those together in a flow and see how we go. We're going to do one circle, then yield the hind, and open up in the new direction. Yield the hind, open up in the new direction. Be careful not to walk backwards when you're doing this one. Hind quarter yield. Good boy. Just one more. Do a few of these each way until he's got the hang of it. We're going to take this circle straight into it sideways here. And back the other way. Get that hind quarter over there, buddy. Good. Okay, one more and then we're going to go over that jump there and do our flight test. Get that butt over there. Okay, here we go. Oop. You were busy, were you? Hind quarter yield. Hind quarter yield. Good boy. Hind quarter yield. Well, that looks like a bit of fun, doesn't it? Make sure before you do this that you've got these working independently and then add them together to make it interesting and more challenging for your horse. Once you've got your short range yields going well, it's time to progress to your long range yields. Here we're going to do some circles and we're going to add in some sideways, some lateral move. And the lateral move that we're using here, the lateral flexion that we're looking for, is to soften our horse in forward movement, okay, to get him soft and to check whether he's calm and relaxed or not. If he can't soften as he's going along, then you need to practice a little bit more until he can. So what we're going to do here is a long range circle and then spiral our horse in. This is our first proper spiral. So we're going to ask our horse to spiral out, which means just to gradually go out bigger on the circle and then gradually come back in smaller when he finishes. Okay. There's two spots of comfort. The first bit will be when he's on the circle, he'll get comfort, and then when I'm ready to bring him in, I'll apply my phases of discomfort so he understands that comfort now is on the inside. So we're going to have a look at that. And I'll Spyder to go out here to my left. Up at a trot, buddy. So we're up at our short range here. I'm just going to use my string now to get him out a little bit further. Go on, Spyder. And I might need to mention I've got a long rope on here also. Okay, so this is a 22-foot rope. Okay, he's looking pretty comfortable out there. His job now is to go around there without me doing anything. Come on, keep going. Okay, looks like he's having a bit of a holiday. He's doing that pretty easy there. Now I'm going to yield his hind and ask him to come in, but not straight in. I want him to curve in. You guys will have a look at this. So here's a hind quarter yield and he's curving as he comes into me, not straight in. Okay, I don't want to put him on his front end. I want him to balance as he comes in. If you have a little bit of sideways as he comes in, that's that curve. he'll balance his weight a lot more to the back. If he's coming in on the front, if he's coming in straight, sometimes they can put their weight on the front end and come in on the front end and come in dominant. We don't want to do that. That's not good posture for us. It's not good body language just yet. We'll do that later on once we've got things going. So here we'll start with our short range again. Get him out a little bit further. Let you go, Spyder. Just pass that behind my back so he knows that I'm leaving him alone, and so you guys know that I'm leaving him alone. And he's just doing just enough to get by there, which is okay for today. Here I'm going to ask him in. I'm going to yield towards his hind quarter, reach down my rope, yield the hind, reach down the rope, yield the hind, reach down the rope, until he comes in for a rub on the head. Good boy. Looks pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Spiral out. So here, as I'm spiraling him out, I'm just flicking that string towards his sideways, so it's almost a sideways out onto the circle. Once he's out there and he's looking pretty good, come around one more, mate. Going to put some pressure towards his hindquarter, swing my string at it till it gets away from me, until his nose comes to me. Okay? A little bit more, mate. Good boy. Once your horse understands that he's spiralling into comfort and he can travel forward soft and supple like that, that might take you a little while to practice that one, then you can start doing what we call changes of direction. Now it's important, the same as the short range yields, that when we do these changes of direction on these long range, that he yields with his hind quarter mainly, not just the forequarter going across. Because if you do that, what will happen is they'll start to get a little bit stiffer through the body. And we'll do that later on, but first of all we'll work the hind quarter in our changes of direction. So let's have a go at one here. A little bit more impulsion, Spyder. Okay, here we go. Hind quarter yield. Walk backwards a little bit just to get out of his way, and then open the door in the new direction. We'll do that a couple of times so you guys can see. More impulsion, Spyder. That's better. Okay, here we go. Hind quarter yield, out of his way, open in the new direction. Away he goes, and then leave him alone again. Just to finish up, I'm going to bring him in at a trot with a spiral. Good boy. Well, that'll be an interesting exercise for you when you first start out. It mightn't be as smooth as Spyder's curve that he has come in there. So I'll just run through that little technique that we did just to help Spyder understand. So if he's going in this direction, and if he doesn't spiral in very well, he'll sort of go end for end. So it'll be something like this. I'll reach down the rope, I'll yield the hind, then release, reach down the rope, yield the hind, release, reach down the rope, and then release. Now the release is comfort, and the more release you can put in the spiral when you're first starting out, the more comfort the horse will see in it, until he understands that he can do the whole lot laterally flexed in forward movement, which will increase his suppleness in his body and be good for his overall confidence, that he's understanding that he's going to comfort when he's doing the spiral, because later on we want to do it on him. Doing these exercises here, we're encouraging our horse to flex laterally and to stay soft and supple, and later on that'll carry through to when we ride them, that they stay soft and supple when we ride them, and that'll keep their feet underneath them and make your ride and your relationship between you and your horse a lot safer. This is what we're looking for. we've done our spirals. We've got them going pretty good. Spyder's got those going pretty nice here. Now at the moment we're yielding the hindquarter and allowing him to come forward, but we've got to balance that up with a hindquarter yield that actually comes to a stop. So we need balance here. We need a hindquarter yield, so lateral flexion as he goes forward, and we need a hindquarter yield to be good enough that we can yield his hindquarter away, take the power out of the horse and have him stop. So we're going to do a little exercise here called a falling leaf, which goes end for end, and we're going to go hindquarter yield, forequarter yield. Alright, and these are stops. There needs to be stops in this. It's not a flow like the change of direction we just did in the spiral there. Starts out the same as the spiral, spiral him out. There's more straight lines in this one, so here I'm going to put pressure towards his hindquarter in a straight line, ask him to stop. Good boy. Then his forequarter goes away. Hindquarter yield to a stop. It's important we can stop our horse. Forequarter away, hindquarter yield to a stop. You might need to put a pause in there. You see Spyder start to anticipate, so we need to put a little bit of a pause in there of comfort for the horse. Not that much of a pause, Spyder. And a trot is good. Hindquarter yield, good boy. So we need to balance up the spirals and our falling leaf. So it comes across in front, yield the hind, ask him to stop, open the door, close the door. Is our falling leaf. Pretty straightforward. You may want to do that. If your horse is having a little bit of trouble, you may want to shorten your rope until he understands what you're after. So if you might need to start that short range first up and then gradually get to where you can do that at the end of the rope. Maybe even one day get to where you can do that without the rope. That'll be pretty good too. Once you've had a little practice with your short range yields and your long range yields, you might want to see if you could challenge yourself and develop your skills even further by putting your rope around your horse's neck. See what you can do. Yeah. That looks like a bit of fun for both the horse and you. Okay, we've got our saddle on here. We've checked out our short range yields, our long range yields. Make sure our horse is nice and soft. And we're going to do the same now as what we did on the ground on the horse's back. So we're going to hop on. We're just going to use the halter and the lead rope here because that's what we've been using on the ground to teach our horse. So we're going to do the same when we hop on. And we're going to check out our rein positions and then have a look at our short range circles and our long range circles with some spiral. Little technique here for you to get your reins the right length. So that should be, if there was contact on our horse's nose, that would reach to the bottom of our sternum, just where the bones finish there. Make a loop, put it through the loop, and get the end and put it through that loop. You might want to watch that a few times and get the hang of that one. And I'm going to go around here with a dangly bit and then put the end of it back through all those little wraps that I just did. Now this is a way to do it with a halter and lead rope, but you might even want to buy a hackamore, which is already done. It's got the reins already set up and it's meant for this sort of riding. But that'll do us for today. When you hop on your horses, it's important to have them laterally flex towards you. You step up, hips facing forward. It doesn't matter too much how you get there. See some people come around and do this sort of thing. It doesn't matter too much as long as when you go up, you're leveraging yourself this way, not that way. This way you can check if your horse is okay before you hop on. Once we're up here, just going to have a look at our lateral flexion, our hindquarter yields and our forequarter yields. Check my rein length again, looks pretty good. How's that feel, Spyder? Good. Make sure he can flex without moving his feet. If he can't flex without moving his feet, that means he's stiff through the body. We don't really want to ride him forward if he's like that. That might be as far as you get him one day, just laterally flexing. Here we're going to do a lateral flex and a hindquarter yield. I'm going to apply my leg. Make sure this other rein's deactivated over here. Ask him to do a hindquarter yield. Good boy. Then release. You do that both sides. Remember, your hands do what your legs do here. My weight's down on the side that I'm yielding here. Okay. Good boy. You're going to do a forequarter yield, and I'm just going to go from a neutral to a hindquarter yield. So this is a neutral, by the way. Neutral, it's a lateral flexion. That means go nowhere. Neutral to a hindquarter yield. Then I'm going to open the door in front here, just like we did on the ground, for the horse to go in that direction. Same sort of thing. If you're consistent with what you do on the ground to what you do on their back, the horse will understand. Let's do our other side here. Lateral flexion, indirect rein, that's a hindquarter yield. I'm going to open out in this direction with an open door for the horse to go that way. Okay, there's no pressure on that rope. I don't want him to go out there, I just want him to go in a little circle around here. See if you can see the similarity of what we were doing on the ground as to what I'm doing now. We've got our rein positions working, but we also need to make sure that we can do our short range sideways like we did when we were on our horse. So here I've got my marker in the centre here. I'm going to ask my horse to go sideways. I'm going to close this side and I'm going to open this side till my horse goes over. So he just steps over a little bit there and I'll relax. Reward him. Okay, that might be the first time you do it. Open the direction you want to go and close on the side you want him to go from. Okay, so just around the little marker that I've got in the middle here. If your horse is not real good at sideways, you might need to do a bit of practice on that and even maybe use a fence in front of you and go sideways down the fence. That might help you also. Okay, and get to where you can do this same as what you did on the ground. So it might come in handy for you later on when we're doing our circles. So here I'm going around, I've got a little marker in the middle there. I'm going around this little marker. And if I want to stop, I'm going to reach down this rope here. Just see if I can stop facing the middle there. Okay, exactly the same as when I was on the ground. I want to go off in that direction over there. I'm going to ride in that direction over there. Back onto the circle. I want to stop. Hindquarter yield just enough to face the middle there. Oop, a bit overshot my mark there a bit. To face the centre. So circle, flex into a stop facing the centre. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? We do the same at a trot. Put him out on the circle here. So I've spiralled him out. Take him up to a trot. Open the door in front. And drive from behind if I have to. Same as when I had the stick. Exactly the same. Here I want him to stop. I'm going to reach down. Yield his hind until he faces the centre. Let it go. Good boy. I go the other way. I'm going to open in that direction. Trot around. Stop. Reach down. Face the centre. Okay. Now some of you, when you're doing this circle, might find that the horse wants to go out of the circle. And this is what we talked about on the ground there. If the lead rope was tight, then you need to yield the hindquarter to get them to take pressure off of the lead rope. So they'll be the same in the reins here. So if our horse wants to go out of the circle out there all the time, and we keep opening up over there and showing him where comfort is, but he says, I don't want to go to comfort, which does happen sometimes, you'll need to apply an indirect rein, which means yield the hind. So you've opened up in front, he's not going, he's sort of going over there. You're going to reach down, yield that hindquarter, and then open in front again. It's important that you open in front again after. Hindquarter yield, open in front. And you're opening towards where the circle is. So towards the circle, okay? That might be a little technique that helps you out. So if you're going wide, reach down, yield the hind and release. Going out wide, yield the hind, release. Piece of cake. As we do these little softening exercises here, the softening laterally, you might find sometimes when your horse is a little bit stiff, he might be tight when you do this sort of thing here, and you need to practice that a little bit more. Or maybe the circles and he gets tight through the body and he wants to go out wide, or maybe even go into the middle. All those sorts of things will happen if your horse is stiff through the body, front to back. Another sort of thing that will start to show up if your horse is stiff through the body is they'll be bouncier to ride. Now this stiffness is a reflection of how they're feeling on the inside, how they're thinking, how they're feeling about you and them. So if they're stiff and tight through the body, it means that they're not really happy with the situation. So what you need to do is to practice these little exercises and get them to where your horse is happy doing them, because it's important that you both stay happy doing these little tasks, because that's what it's all about. Now, as we did on the ground, we did some transitions when we were riding, when we were on the circle, and we relaxed for our horse to come down a transition, and if he didn't come down, then we put a little bit of pressure in front until he came down a transition, and then rewarded him. Okay, so we're going to have a look at our transitions now, because they're it's important that they stay soft and supple through their transitions. And this is pretty much like our flight test that we did earlier, that as we go through transitions, we need to make sure that the hindquarter stays soft and supple, because we want them to be nice and smooth through these transitions. A horse that's tight and tense as he goes through the transitions and he goes up a gate, maybe from a trot to a canter, might get a little bit excited. And if he's a bit tight and tense, that excitement might come out in a negative way. Okay, so make sure you get this nice and soft and supple at the walk and the trot and the halt, and that your horse is understanding that before you take it up to a canter. Keep an eye on, when you're doing transitions, that it's not just a transition like the speed change, but the horse is soft and supple through the transition. This is important, so we're going to have a look at that now. I'm going to take Spyder up to a trot here. I'm going to open up in front. If he doesn't go, I've got my hand back here, I'll spank him on the bum, same as what I could have done with my stick before. We're on the circle. I'm going to do a few spirals in here. I'm going to yield my hind and change direction. Okay, we're going to do a couple of those, then we're going to do some transitions. Just got to make sure he's nice and soft. Not yet, not yet, not yet. Knows what I'm up to. Hind quarter yield. Open in the new direction. Here, if he goes out a bit wide, I can use that indirect to make sure he stays on track. Okay. Right. So there's a couple of changes of direction. You might want to work on that. It's important when you do these changes of direction that it's not with the front end, it's with the back end when you first start out. I'm going to ask him for a transition down now, and I'm going to relax my body life. If he didn't come down from that, I'd pick up this inside rein and just flex him and push that hind a little bit to soften him. I'm going to do a transition up. Open in front and close behind, so I squeeze with my legs if I have to. Spank with my hand if I have to. I'm going to relax my body, transition down. Now before I said, when we do our transition down, that we need to keep an eye on that lateral flexion, so it's real important. If your horse is real stiff on these transitions down and you go down to reach down and he sort of just turns into the centre all the time, you might want to work a little bit more on your sideways to get that softer so he doesn't push on your leg when you're doing circles. I'll show you what I mean. It's a little bit stiff, you reach down here and he sort of dives in. What you can do is just open out to get him back on the circle like a sideways there while you're going along. Okay, let's see, we'll take this up to a canter now. I'm going to open up in front, make sure my horse is pointing on the direction I want to go. Up into a canter. He's a little bit stiff there. Just use my indirect rein to soften him up a bit. Here's my indirect rein again. I'm trying to do this circle with direct rein, with the open, just open in front there, like that. Now I'm going to do transition down, relax. Make sure he's soft as he comes down, so just do a little bit of a lateral flexion as we're going along there. You guys see that? Might need to rewind that and have a look a few times. Okay, we're going to do some changes of direction here. I'm going to take him up to a canter again, change directions with a transition down, and go back the other way. Here we go, transition down, hind quarter yield. Open in the new direction. Get him back on the circle. Now when it's nice and soft on this circle, I'll allow him to go up to a canter again. I won't allow him to go up if he's all stiff. I'm trying to have loose reins as he rides around. Okay, I'm going to relax my body life. Use my inside rein to help with my transition. We've come down to a walk. These little exercises will help your horse stay soft and supple through the transition, so if you go up into a walk or a trot when you're out on a ride, or up into a canter, he doesn't get all excited. So these things, you need to practice these at home where you're nice and comfortable before before you take your horse out, and make sure you can do all these transitions. The better you get them, the safer you'll be out there on your ride. So this is sort of preparation. These little things here that we've just done would be a great idea if you did it before you went out for a ride. Just check through, just make sure you can do your short range yields and long range yields on the ground, and then do all of these ridden checks before you go for a ride. You'll have a lot safer ride, and your horse will be a lot smoother to ride as well. Along with your transitions, we also need to be able to teach our horse to stop. So here we did changes of direction, what we call flex to flex, the same as we did on the ground, but now we need to do some stops as well. This is similar to what we did with the falling leaf when we were on the ground on that long rope a little while ago. So here I'm going to take my horse up to a trot, and then I'm going to spiral him down to the centre to a halt. Okay? So we'll take him up to a trot. Just using my sideways here to soften him up a bit. Okay, here we go. I've reached down my inside rein. I've opened my outside rein. I'm just going to spiral to a stop there. Good boy. And I'm just above my little marker there. You might need a marker so you can be consistent. Give him a rest. Go off in the other direction here. Trying to do this circle on loose reins. Okay, here we go. I reach down my inside rein, got my outside rein open, sideways to a stop. I'm just above that little marker there. This would be a good thing to teach your horse to be balanced in his stops and to be nice and light on the reins. And this is what we want when we go for a ride. And the horse, he gets reward when he softens. Once you've got that nice and soft, you might want to try this. Maybe even this. You're only limited by your imagination. After you've got your circles, your groundwork good, and your spirals good, ground and ridden, you might want to progress to a bridle, and again apply the same things for your ridden techniques. Maybe even ask your horse to give you soft feel to your reins, which means to pick up your reins, open them out wide here, ask him to give contact. Okay, if he gets a little bit stiff, we're going to use the lateral flexion, like your sideways that we learnt earlier on the circle, or your spirals, to soften your horse rather than pull on the reins. So you use your spirals to soften your horse. Here we're going to check out our rein positions. See if I can do a hind quarter yield. with impulsion. Good. 4/4 yield. Pretty good. You're going to do a change of direction with a flex to flex using our spirals that we learned earlier. Good. Check my rein position. I'm going to try do a hind-quarter yield here. See how still I can get that front inside leg. Here we'll do a 4/4. Looking pretty good. You also might want to make sure that you can push your horse's hind-quarter to the outside of the circle like that, and to the inside of the circle like this, with the front end going as straight as possible. We'll do that in both directions. Hind-quarters in. Hind-quarters out. Looks like fun, doesn't it? We'll do the same again in a canter. Hind-quarter in. Hind-quarter out. And you can change it while you're going along. Hind-quarter in again. Hind-quarter out again. Through the centre. Hind-quarters in. Hind-quarters out. It's a great exercise to teach your horse that you can bend him any which way you want. Oops. While you're going forward. Here we're also going to have a look at our transition, so I'm going to open up for a canter transition. Good boy. Relax down to my walk. I want to walk in this one. It's important that he softens to that through his walk, and we use that lateral flexion technique that we did in our spirals to help with that. So use your inside rein or even your outside rein to just laterally flex your horse if he's pushing a little bit, or if he's a little bit heavy on the reins. So here I'm going to open up. Relax. Down to a walk. Good boy. So here I'm going to push my hind-quarter to the outside and open up to the outside. Good boy. Relax. Push my hind-quarter to the inside. Open up. Just putting some transitions in there with our hind-quarter yields. And you can even get to the stage where you can get your hindquarters out, open up on the inside, and then have your horse do a flight change over there like that. So when we're doing these, we're going to open doors. So open. Open this way. Here I want to fly change, I'm going to open the other way. And if I have to, I'll use my leg, but I want to give my horse the opportunity to take the open door. If you can do that, you might find that he'll think that's a great idea and take the open door, and your horse will get lighter and lighter, softer and softer, and more willing. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at spirals with Spyder and I, and a few of the techniques here will keep you safe and keep your horse soft and supple so you can have an enjoyable ride when you're out with your partner. The end.